Weekend, I must say, in different parts of the country, and it depends on how you see it. But we'll see what the headlines are saying this morning. And I have with me leadership and communication strategist, Dr. John, as well as Dr. Dayo Kayode, a political technocrat. It's nice to see both of you in the studio.
It's good to be
happy
here.
Monday
Happy
and happy
Monday.
June. Happy July.
Happy
Sorry.
July.
Happy July. Yeah, exactly.
Happy new half of the year.
You know, it's only in Nigeria we have happy everything.
Happy everything.
There's happy everything.
But there's a difference between Happy Friday and Happy Monday anyway.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Happy Friday means bring something.
Happy weekend. Happy weekend. All right, let's begin with the Daily Trust. Daily Trust is where we start from right now. Why federal government is establishing Ruga settlements. The presidency is revealing this. Our deal with herders by Southeast governors. All right, that's what the Daily Trust is having. And then from there, let's go to the Nigerian News Direct. Budget delay, struggling economy, down equities by 4.66% as experts proffer the way forward. You can find that on the front page of the News Direct. From there, let's go to the blueprint now. Nigerians groan under water scarcity. Kwara spends 6.5 billion naira on reticulation. Bayelsa, 6 billion naira. Kaduna plans $600 million expansion. Abia shops for 20 million euros. All on the water. Oyo, Gombe battle obsolete facilities and states not providing up to 30% water to citizens. USAID is saying that. And it's all about water, water, water on the blueprint. Okay. Let's move on now to the Nigerian Tribune. No land for Ruga settlement in Southeast. The governors there are saying. Plan is provocative, repugnant. Southern Middle Belt leaders are saying that. And presidency explains rationale for scheme. Says it's voluntary and 12 states have applied so far. Okay, you find that on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Okay, let's move now to the Nation newspaper. Presidency is saying no going back on cattle settlements. Decision aimed at finding permanent end to farmers-herders clashes. No going back on cattle settlements. That's what the Nation has on its front page there. Okay. From there, let's go to The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper is next now. Why are we back plan to settle Fulani herders by government and the ACF? That's the Arewa Consultative Forum. Arewa leaders insist Fulanization, Islamization of Nigeria impossible. Don't cede any land. Southern Middle Belt Forum, Gani Adams warns state governors. You can find all that on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. All right, from there, let's go to the Daily Sun. Daily Sun is the next point of call now. Anxiety over ministerial list. Presidency may submit list to Senate this week, and some immediate past ministers to return. Okay, you'll find all that on the front page of the Daily Sun. Vanguard is our next paper now, and also the last one. Federal government's debt profile heads to 27 trillion naira. Borrowings continue. Sells 1.7 trillion naira debt instrument in the first half of 2019. And Nigeria in serious trouble over rising debt burden. Fuel subsidy. NECA is saying that. Okay. Gentlemen, over the weekend, it was social media was agog with, or abuzz with a lot of issues. One on the Ruga settlement issue, and then the other was the Koza controversy and all of that. But I'd like us to talk about the Ruga settlement issue that a lot of Nigerians have, in fact, videos have gone viral of how some communities are rejecting the federal government. Others are saying it is a good thing. But let me ask, first of all, why is there controversy around this? Because the government is saying that we're trying to find lasting solution to the farmer-herder clashes. Doctor, let me start with you on this.
Okay, it is understandable. The people are sharply divided along ethnicity and religious lines. It's understandable. But again, the major fear of the people is what happened in Egypt so many centuries ago. When the Israelites were growing, the Egyptians said, oh, these people, the rate at which they were growing, they would likely take over the land. You understand? If you look at the South, it's naturally populated by Christians. Christians have the belief that it's one man, one wife.
Is this a religious issue?
I'm trying to make an issue here. The Christians have the belief that it's one man, one wife. the Muslim have the capacity, a man have the capacity to marry more than one wife. That means that the population expansion in the northern part of the country may be higher than what we have in the southern part of the country.
But why do we have to look into that
Doctor, let me land.
No, the point there is, why do we have to even look at that side when all these people are Nigerians? Under the constitution, which is binding on all of us, we all have the right, whether you have 10 children, whether you have 100 children, all of them are all Nigerians.
Now,
why don't we look at that side of the things?
The fear is that there's a possibility that if we have Ruga settlement, that the population there may be that of the Hausa Fulani. I use the word may deliberately because anybody can actually go into the business. A Southerner can say he wants to go into the business. No law is restricting anybody. But there has been this fear that the Ruga settlement may actually be populated by the Hausa Fulanis, who we, as a result of the fact that they have the capacity to have more children, may actually expand as time goes on and take over the land. That is the fear of the people. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but that is the major fear of the people, that, okay, what will happen in the next 30 years? These people are going to take over the land in the southern part of the country. That's the major fear of the people in the south.
So it's basically all about just suspicion.
It's suspicion.
Just suspicion.
Yeah.
Dr. Kayode.
It is not about suspicion. It is about antecedents that we have all witnessed, especially in Nigeria. I don't want to go to Israelites and the Egyptians and all that. Let's look at what happened in Ilorin when they were coming down south towards Oyo Empire. Look at what is happening there now between the Alimis and the other ruling house in Ilorin. Now, the issue is this. Why is even federal government so particular about coming to annex some of our land for some other people? If we are coming to take my land, it has to be with my own consent. Not that you are now saying,
Dr.
now if you are now saying,
listen, Dr. Kayode,
you want to
there was a statement by the presidency, and he said that this Ruga settlement is not just for Fulani herders.
Yes.
It is for anyone who practices animal husbandry. So the point there is, whether you have cattle, whether you have goats, whether you have pig, whether you have rabbits, chicken, and all of that, they all fall in this category.
You see, let me tell you this. You know, when I started my point, I was talking about antecedents.
Okay.
Are they so sincere that, yes, that Ruga concept is for animal husbandry now in quotes? Bearing in mind that there is a caveat saying to sort out the problems between the herders and farmers. You have not been having problem with poultry farmers and whatever. But then the issue is this. We have Sambisa forest. What is Sambisa forest there for? Sambisa forest is up to about 700 square kilometers that can accommodate close to 300 and something millions of cow times more than 20% of what we are having. So why can't we go and use that Sambisa forest?
This is still about suspicion.
It's not suspicion.
It's about antecedent. But you just said, based on antecedent. The point there is that this is a new project. This is a new program. This is a new idea. It's a new concept by the government. So why don't we look at the?
In Yoruba, they always say something. Igi gogoroma gumi loju okere lati nwo.
Igi gogoroma giri.
Don't break your teeth. That is to say, at any point in time, it's always better to be proactive. The people in the south, they are coming from what has happened to them before. All right, Doctor, just be proactive.
Doctor, we understand the government has listened to all the controversy, the refusal, all of that, the support, the anti and all of that, the comments from Nigerians.
And they are saying
how should government have handled this differently, maybe?
Okay, I think first, this government has problem of communication.
Okay.
It's a major problem of having to communicate your idea acceptably to the people. So I think first is that, apart from meeting the people, you should be able to communicate this idea convincingly to the people that this is what you want to do. Then secondly, before you communicate the idea, the issue of language is very important. Speak the language that the people will understand in an atmosphere of trust. So I think the government should create trust first to let the people know that, oh, we are not playing any Fulani card. We are playing the Nigerian card, which is to ensure that there's peace in the land. Unfortunately, even the people in another part of the country are thinking otherwise, that the government is playing another card that is different from the card of peace.
All right. We'll wait to see how these things will play out as we get along, as days run by. Dr. John, thank you so much for coming on the program. Dr. Dayo Kayode, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Right. You're watching TVC Breakfast, and we're streaming live on YouTube. You can connect with us on Twitter using the hashtag TVC Breakfast.
The Nigerian newspapers, and I have with me in the studio leadership and communication strategist Dr. John, and also Dr. Dayo Kayode, a political technocrat. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on TVC Breakfast. Yeah. All right, let's head straight to the papers now, and I start with the Daily Trust. Why federal government is establishing Ruga settlements, presidency. Deal with herders by Southeast governors. And then we'll move on to the Nigerian News Direct. Budget delays, struggling economy, down equities by 4.66% as experts proffer the way forward. And to the front page of the blueprint, Nigerians grown underwater scarcity. Kwara spends 6.5 billion naira on reticulation. Bayelsa 6 billion naira. Kaduna plans $600 million expansion. Abia shops for 20 million euros. Oyo Gumbi battle obsolete facilities. States not providing up to 30% water to citizens. USAID. And to the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. No land for Ruga settlement in Southeast. The governors plan provocative, repugnant. Southern Middle Belt leaders. Presidency explains rationale for scheme, says it's voluntary. 12 states have applied. And to the front page of the Nation newspaper, Presidency, no going back on cattle settlements. A decision aimed at finding permanent end to farmers-herders clashes. And on the front page of The Guardian, why we back plan to settle Fulani herders by government ACF. Arawa leaders insist Fulanization, Islamization of Nigeria impossible. Don't cede any land. Southern Middle Belt Forum, Gani Adams, warn state governors. And on the front page of the Daily Sun, anxiety over ministerial list. Presidency may submit list to Senate this week. Some immediate past ministers to return. And finally, on the front page of the Vanguard, federal government's debt profile heads to 27 trillion naira. Borrowings continue. Sells 1.7 trillion naira debt instrument in H119. Nigeria in serious trouble over rising debt burden, fuel subsidy, NECA. And this is the story we will be looking at, gentlemen. Nigeria's debt profile has risen to 27 trillion naira. How worrying has this become, seeing that we spend about 70% of our income on servicing perhaps what we call fuel subsidy and electricity subsidy, as some have said. In fact, last week we talked about this, where Emir of Sokoto also, Sanusi, saying that, Emir of Kano saying that we should look at, the government should look at, removing fuel subsidy, because it is taking about 70% of the government's income. How worrisome is this, Asawiti Dot?
It's extremely worrisome, especially when anytime we get to this point where the government is creating an impression of cluelessness to the people. And it's really, it's so bad that you don't get to know the implication of some of this debt until you look at the value of your country. And this is what I mean. The backbone of any country is, one of the backbones is actually your foreign reserve. You may have a fantastic foreign reserve going to millions of dollars, But by the time you have a very huge debt burden, that means that your external reserve is not actually worth it, because the first thing an average person would do in determining the worth of a nation is to remove its debt profile from its external reserve. By the time you do so, you discover that maybe Nigeria is not even having up to $10 billion as external reserve. And again, we over time, I think we have borrowed for the wrong purposes. When we borrow money that we are supposed to put into infrastructure that will generate money for the government, we borrow it and it escapes into the pocket of private individuals. And in cases where we even use the monies to execute projects, we discover that the value of the project we execute does not really tally with the amount of money invested. For example, if a rail line in Nigeria costs over 13 million per kilometer, costs over $13 million, and you are looking elsewhere, and this amount of money, this same kilometer is costing another nation about $6 million, then you begin to ask questions. So it's a it's a complex situation we found ourselves, and it's extremely worrisome.
Complex situation, is that what it is? I mean, it shouldn't be so complex that we can't find a clue to solving this issue.
It is even appalling that at this time we're still talking about fuel subsidy. Because I could remember when this issue started, I think 1988 or thereabout, when Babangida was in power, and there was this increase in whatever, and they were talking about building more refineries and all that. Since then, what has the government done? And that is where this insincerity lies. We keep on borrowing money to service debt. And this debt that we are borrowing money to service is inside some other people's pocket. And that's why we have...
But we are fighting corruption.
Don't let us go there.
No, because...
and that is why we are having the whole load of our money inside 2% of the whole population. Okay, when this regime was about to come in, this government was about to come in in 2015. I remember they were saying subsidy was a fraud. But
what
now,
would it take to remove subsidy, fuel subsidy?
The issue...
And electricity subsidy.
The thing is this, it's just fraud. Listen, all we need to do is to have our refineries working. Okay, let's even say that our refineries are moribund. Let me even say our refineries are moribund. Why can't we have all these small modular refineries? How much is it to build a modular refinery, for goodness sake? If we have been investing... But the government signed an agreement with some persons for this modular refinery. The issue is, how sincere are they? Who are the people that they signed this in with? When you have... There was a time that said they licensed about 28 or about 35 companies for this modular refinery about 2 years ago. Where are the modular refineries? That's a huge question. I mean, that's the issue. And that is where we should be able to see that there is a lot of insincerity on the part of this government. Look at even NEPA. Look at the NEPA that they say they are subsidizing. Where is the power? You unbundle PHCN to Discos and Gencos. Where are they? When these people came in, you remember how much money CBN gave to them? All right. So where is this money? Where so many questions to be answered there. But thank you, gentlemen, for your contribution on the newspaper review this morning. You're watching TVC Breakfast, and we're streaming live on YouTube. You can connect with us on Twitter using the hashtag TVC Breakfast. Still to come on the show.
Headlines now, and let's see what the papers are saying in Nigeria. Really interesting headlines from left to right and up and down. Leadership and communication strategist, Dr. John joins me on the set, and we also have Dr. Dayo Kayode, a political technocrat. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Nice to see you.
How are you?
Right, fine. Let's begin with the Daily Trust this morning. Why federal government is establishing Ruga settlements. The presidency is explaining there. Our deal with herders by Southeast governors. Okay, you can find all that on the front page of the Daily Trust. Let's move now to the News Direct. Nigeria News Direct says budget delay, struggling economy, down equities by 4.66% as experts prefer the way forward. You find all that on the front page of the News Direct. Now, Blueprint is next now. Let's see what it is saying. Nigerians groan under water scarcity. Kwara spends 6.5 billion naira on reticulation, Bayelsa 6 billion naira. Kaduna plans $600 million expansion, and Abia shops for 20 million euros, all on issues of water. And Oyo Gumbi battle obsolete facilities, and states not providing up to 30% water to citizens. USAID or USAID is saying that. You can find all that on the front page of the blueprint. Let's move now to the Nigeria Tribune. No land for Ruga settlement in southeast, governors there are saying. And the plan is provocative, repugnant. Southern Middle Belt leaders are saying that. And Presidency explains rationale for scheme and says it's voluntary. 12 states have applied so far. Okay, we have that on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Let's move now to The Nation. The Nation newspaper is next now. Presidency is saying no going back on cattle settlements, and a decision aimed at finding permanent end to farmers-herders clashes. That is what you will see on the front page of the Nation newspaper. We'll move now to The Guardian. The Guardian is next now and says, why we back plan to settle Fulani herders by government and the ACF. The ACF is the Arewa Consultative Forum. And it said Arewa leaders insist Fulanization, Islamization of Nigeria is impossible, and don't cede any land. Southern Middle Belt Forum, Gani Adams, warned state governors. Okay, you find all that on the front page of The Guardian. Let's move now to the Daily Sun and see how bright this side is. Anxiety over ministerial list. Presidency may submit list to Senate this week, and some immediate past ministers to return. You find all that on the front page of the Daily Sun. I think we'll talk about it shortly now. Moving on now to the Vanguard. Vanguard and the last paper this morning says federal government debt profile heads to 27 trillion naira. Borrowings continue. Sells 1.7 trillion naira debt instruments in the first half of 2019. And Nigeria in serious trouble over rising debt burden, fuel subsidy, as the NECA is saying that. Okay. Gentlemen, I'd like us to talk about this issue on the front page of the Daily Sun. This will interest you because it's one of the trending issues right now. Anxiety over ministerial list. Presidency may submit list to Senate this week, and some immediate past ministers to return. Dr. Kayode, when it comes to the issue of ministerial list, since the past about 2 months now, we've been hearing of high power politics, high wire politics at all levels, for new names to get in, for old names to be retained, and all of that. What is your expectation when it comes to the ministerial list?
Thank you, my brother. You see, my own expectation is this. Let this man come up with people that has the capacity, the character, the charisma, and then the wherewithal to be able.
He was quoted at the time saying that, well, I've not seen anything wrong with the ministers I've had all the while.
That is where I'm coming to. Right. To be able to shapen and sharpen the philosophy towards a safer Nigeria, whereby we can improve the essentialities of living for Nigerians. To that extent, nobody will say, look, all we can do is about importation of fuel. What do we do to eradicate this so that all this subsidy will not be there? To that extent, we have people that be able to say, look, Nigerians need a safe environment. Not that you will say, it's the IFSA or the Gaddafi guys, this is that are killing your people. And then they will now say, okay, so that they will not kill your people again, let them live with you. Without thinking that when those people are even living with you, then they will kill you the more. That is to say, we need people, we need ministers that will be compassionate enough to know.
But ministers are meant to drive the vision of the president.
That is what I'm saying.
They don't have their own.
Listen, when you are driving the vision, when you are driving the vision of the president, you should be able to advise the president, because a tree can never make a forest.
All right, Dotun, when it comes to the ministerial list or the ministers in the next dispensation, however way anyone sees it, it is common sense to say that certainly some ministers will return.
Yeah.
I wonder if you have to gamble in your mind right now, which ministry do you think might return or retain their ministers?
I think majorly down south here, you can think about the Ministry of Works, Land and Housing or so. Then you can think of the Ministry of Transportation and maybe a few.
Why do you think so? Is it because they're performing, or is it because you think
not necessarily. I think these two ministries have become the power house for the present government. If you know what they are talking about now, they're talking about roads here and there, and they're talking about rail system, transportation. I think the focus of the government is actually to invest heavily in these sectors, and these people have been driving it. I think they have an understanding of what the government wants to do. Whether they are able to actually translate that understanding to reality is a different question entirely. And when it comes to next level that we are in now, without change, you know we can't get to next level. Without change, we can't get to next level. We got to the point of change before we are getting to the change of point of next level. So if you think that these people are going to be retained, I doubt whether we're going to have all of them are going to be retained, which is practically impossible. I doubt whether we are going to move from that change point to the next level where we're talking about. Now, I think the more people they need to inject into government, because I did a research on why companies fail in Africa, and I discovered that it's the same reason why governments in Africa fail, and that's the issue of sycophancy. I think they need people who will be bold enough to tell Mr. President or whoever is in charge that, see, we are wrong on this part, we need to take this part, without necessarily looking at what they will lose in terms of salaries.
But all the while, have you seen ministers look the president in the face and say, Mr. President, this is not right, and if you're not going to change this, then I resign?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But have we seen that recently?
No, that's what we are saying. That's what we are saying. We need people
some
that
people have said
character.
Nigerians are not those kind of people who will resign for such reason.
When you have people that has that character, when I find out that what you are doing is wrong and it's going to tarnish my image with my people down there, I resign. The moment you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people doing that, you see that our so-called leaders, they will sit up. But because we have people that place sycophantic activities with the president or with the governors, and that is why we are seeing all these things.
You see, I
so
think
that's what you expect in the next dispensation.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Those who
Character
can stand by their principles.
Sure.
So, yeah, professional politicians may not really fit into that because that's what they fit from. I have my job. If you give me ministerial appointment, for example, or anything, I know that if I leave your job, I'm still going to fall back to my job. So I can easily tell you that this thing you're doing is wrong and leave the office. Because I have something to fall back
we have a professor who was there before and he was sidelined, but he didn't resign.
There.
So
maybe the professor
unfortunate.
is from your place.
All right, gentlemen, let's leave it here now. Dr. Dayo Kayode, thank you very much for coming on the program.
It's our pleasure.
Dr. John, thank you so much.